It's that very special time of
Merry Christmas, it's Dan Harmon.
Wesołe Świąt. It's Danny Pudi.
Galactic Stugina, Dino Stamatopoulos.
God jul, här är This is Ludwig Göransson.
Wow, we
Wow,
really
we
Did it, guys?
Wow.
That was improv.
This is a rainbow gathering of idiots.
Ludwig is the composer for this episode. You hear me talk about here and there, and we wanted to bring him in because this is we do a lot of episodes that are important musically, and Ludwig does a lot of incredibly important work. But I think this episode is some of his best work. It's certainly some of his most autonomous work because we were under the gun. Oh, and Dino's calling.
It's true. Religiously, I'm Muslim, but I've always been a big fan of Christmas.
Hello?
And this is the most important
Hey, it's the commentary people. This is Duke Johnson who directed the episode. He couldn't come because he's directing Mary Shelley's Frankenhole for Adult Swim.
Hey, Duke.
Hey, Duke.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
Hi.
Okay, so shut up until we ask you a question.
This is one of the first times I got to actually work closely with Ludwig because we're normally on set while Ludwig's in his studio doing stuff. And for this one, we had to go to his studio and actually record the voiceover. So that was really fun for me.
What's the name of the guy that sculpted the dolls? That's the most important first step.
Yes.
Duke, do you remember the guy who sculpted the dolls? What his name was?
For starters, you can move around more.
Sculpted the dolls. Well, Jeff Mendicow was the character designer, and he drew the initial character concepts. And then we had several sculptors. Actually, there were 3 of them.
What was the there was an actual company that did it, right? Like the puppets?
Well, yes, Bix Pix.
Right.
And Burbank.
That's
did
enough.
All the puppets. There were 3 sculptors.
Okay.
Whose sole job it was to sculpt. They sculpted the hands and the arms.
Enough. Okay, we'll get back to you.
That song took a lot of time to fix.
That was my
to finish.
voice, that security guard that said we got him. How's about
yeah.
that?
Was I that bad of a singer, Ludwig?
No, you just had to get in the right Christmas feeling.
Wow, Ludwig's an asshole. Is it Ludwig or Ludwig?
Ludwig.
Okay, Ludwig.
Dino and I wrote this thing. Dino did the heavy lifting. He did the first draft, and we broke the story together over a couple of weekends. But all of the writers were present for a very important meeting where, before we knew how the hell we were going to do this, and all we knew was we were going to use this medium, the big question was, how do you justify it? Because if you do a regular Community episode stop motion, what's the point? And if you do a fantasy episode, again, what's the point?
Exactly. And as a lazy writer, you really it just pissed me off how you wanted all this to make sense. And
right.
I just wanted to go home.
And that's one of the amazing things about TV instead of film is that you're never working with, unless you're Bruckheimer or something, you've never got more than 10 writers in a room all dedicated to solving one problem like that, except in TV. And sure enough, within a couple of hours, somebody had that brainstorm of use Abed as the filter. And I don't know, it's not even a single person. It's just sort of, it's the kind of task that only 10 brains can do.
We all said it at the same time.
Kind of. That's how I remember it. Somebody going, yeah, it's Abed's we watch the episode the way Abed sees it. Something that Chevy did not understand at all when he was doing his lines.
I wish I was there for Chevy's voice.
They were pretty funny. Duke was there too. I remember it was before, of course. What you do is you do the voices first, and then the animators animate to the voices. And Chevy had to read these lines, and he thought he was doing ADR, which is what you usually go in, after the episode's filmed. Sometimes actors need to, do a couple lines that make them clearer. And he got in front of the mic and he said, "I don't remember doing this part." What? Well, you never did it. It's going to be a animated show, and we had to tell him that like 5 times.
Yeah,
within-
and he kept going, well, but this isn't my character. This says Teddy Pierce. It says I'm walking, aren't I, in a wheelchair? And I said,
Right.
well, you're walking, but explaining to him, and when I said the phrase, well, the whole episode is Abed's point of view, and I think a spring and a gear came out of his ear. he went like,
And then
Abed's point of view.
What?
He was actually an animated character before it was even animated.
And I was like, wow, we actually found the wall of clinical narcissism. You found the brick wall where he can't conceive of another person's point of view. Anyways, he's awesome and he's really funny. And there was a population explosion called the baby boom that prohibits us from not having a character that age in the show.
Right. He wouldn't have been born if there wasn't a baby boom, probably. He was probably the last guy that was procreated.
When did you guys decide to actually do do this animated episode? Because I remember hearing grumblings about it earlier in season 2, and we were like, I can't believe we're going to be doing this.
Go ahead.
This was a miracle of bureaucracy and just sort of a disarray. The then head of NBC, Jeff Gaspin, saw our show and said, your show reminds me of Family Guy. You should do an animated episode. And so he was the new boss, so everyone was really terrified. And then we just kind of forced it like bad children. Like we said, well, he said we should do an animated episode. And then Dino said, what about stop motion?
And also not a month ago had Dan and I and 2 other guys opened up an animation studio.
Yeah.
And, we got sense signs in our eyes.
Again, everybody's animated before the animated episode.
Why'd you want to have so many songs in the episode, Dan?
Ludwig, I was in the middle of a story. But,
Oh, sorry.
But
he's trying to bring the conversation around to his craft.
Okay.
I wanted enough to feel like there was regular singing going on, so it would feel like a special. Ludwig really had to. By the time the music was being done for this episode, this thing was an orphan creatively. So Ludwig was operating in almost isolation. It was just getting lyrics from me, and then that's all I had time to do is send him these poems.
And I came into your office and you started humming on bits and pieces.
Yeah, maybe, and sometimes I would leave a voicemail, right?
But Dan always hums because he's part autistic. The best part, though, the lower part.
I did get the marketable part of the spectrum disorder, didn't I? Really, my sister got short shrift.
Here's hoping I get the half that doesn't eat. Sorry, I'm still on the autistic joke.
And it took, what, like 8 weeks to animate this? Is that...
Duke, how long did this take to animate?
Well, 16 weeks from start to finish.
Yeah, that's unheard of when it comes to me working on a show, because Adult Swim, we usually shoot an episode a week, although they're 15 minutes long. But can I keep going with this story? Because I think it's an interesting story.
Go ahead. I'm not doing anything.
All right, don't yell at me.
Just let me drink my beer.
So we opened up the studio and we called it, the other 2 guys who opened it with us were kissing our ass and said, why don't we call it Starburns Industries? And Dan's like, yeah, I thought of that character. And I said, yeah, I am that character. I love it. And so we thought, okay, this is going to be our first big production. We're going to get a lot of press about it. And one of the guys named, coincidentally enough, is Joe Russo.
Not the Joe Russo of Joe and Anthony Russo. His name is just Joe Russo.
Right. So he's dealing with Sony about getting this deal together, and they said, wait, Joe Russo is a part of this? We can't have Joe Russo a part of this. That's a conflict of interest. How, I don't really know.
Right. So that's when Dino and I realized, they don't know that this is kind of our company.
This is run by the guy who created the show and a very secondary character.
It was kind of a Halliburton scandal. Yeah. Fortunately, this thing was so over budget, I ended up eating like $100,000 deficit.
There was no
so-
conflict of interest.
Yeah,
You paid more money than Sony did.
The conflict of interest ended up being that I was interested in eating dinner and couldn't.
I've never heard our show compared to Halliburton. That's a first.
I love that joke. Can't remember. I think it was part Dan, part Chris McKenna, part Hillary. I hate to like name names because maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you never know in a writer's room.
I
It's
shouldn't
hard.
say
I
that.
try to point it out though because like, it is. I mean, there's not enough credit given to the people that slave on that assembly line.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're always going to exclude somebody when you do name
I
it.
know. I'm an asshole.
And also, a lot of times the name's going to be me because I am still the point man. I'm the Howard Hughes. I think it was this episode I had heard a rumor. It's like the writers they get wafts of what goes on with the actors, and we try to imbue the characters with the stuff. And I think somebody had heard that Joel McHale when he saw the puppet for his character, he got self-conscious about the size of his forehead, and so there's episodes that you see where Joel's hair changes a little bit. Like it's I think the election episode is one of them. Like I remember people tweeting me and going, "What's with Joel's hair?" The rumor that I had heard is that Joel had actually asked like the hair guy, like, I saw that puppet, and then is my forehead too big? So then that's why you see these jokes that then come up because the writers are going like, oh, let's have the character be. Let's have that be like his Gary Shandling thing. Like he's always worried about his forehead. And then I talked to Joel on the set of the finale, and I explained all that, and he was like, "What are you fucking talking about? What are you talking about? I never said anything like that." And God only knows, but that's how stuff like that happens.
I have to admit that I was instrumental in making Joel's puppet a little uglier than it should have been. He made fun of my teeth once on set. He's like, "You never got your teeth fixed?" And I'm like, "What? What's wrong with my teeth?" And then I looked, and they're jagged and crooked. So I got mad, and I made his puppet a little uglier.
All right, Ludwig, you want to talk about this song coming up? It's one of the saddest songs in the history of music.
Your favorite song of the show.
Is this the favorite one?
It's
your favorite too,
it's
isn't
Dan's
it?
favorite, and my favorite too. I wish it was longer.
I can't have anyone going beyond this point that's on his side.
Well, we could talk during it because they've probably seen this.
I want to
episode.
hear it again.
Oh, Jesus, guys!
You did
Everyone's
great.
falling asleep.
You did a great performance of this, Danny.
It only took 15 takes?
No, this was like the first one.
Look at. Oh, here's
I remember
Trent.
crying while writing this part.
Christmas music, Britta. I'm ejecting you for
I
lying.
cried during Doc Hollywood, though.
Kick you out of school. I was trying to save you.
We don't. You really want to hear it?
Yeah, I like it.
I don't want you to hear it. Just fucking buy the DVD.
Mad and sadly, no faith in her.
Every character shares some aspect. It has
get
it's
the
based on an
soundtrack.
aspect of the writer. Eventually, Britta, as I've been told several times by therapists that, my childhood sort of, kind of fried the circuitry in my heart, which is why I have trouble with my relationships, and
Duke,
that's why she's a robot.
Duke, the mountain just fell. Do you want to talk about that? That was a kind of a cool shot.
Speaking of real, this
Yeah, the mountain. That took 75 guys 3 days. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, start again.
You guys see the countryside?
The mountain with the train passing by.
Yes.
Thanks for adding that, man.
Yeah, that was all done practical. Right there on the spot with an actual mountain that we constructed and crumbled. We had a team of animation assistants working on that, and that train is really there. There's no visual effects or anything comped in.
My mom's
And to be
That was
clear,
a really cool shot.
the rubble falling, Duke, is actual frame by frame stop animation. It's not a composite of the rubble practically falling and then a stop motion train in the foreground. What you're saying is that the train had to be moved a micrometer, and then you also in that same photo had to move the rubble downward a little bit.
That's crazy.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I remember we got to go see, Elsa and I got a tour of the facilities, and watching some of these people at work doing frame by frame, shot by shot all day terrified me.
It's so much fun because it's like there's all these people, and they love it, by the way. They wouldn't do anything else in the world, but they're pure artists, but there's like 15 to 20 stages up at once, doing different scenes, and sometimes the same scene but a different angle, and it's actually a fun place to go to.
And this scene, by the way, when Allison and I were talking about our holiday traditions, I think did you email us or ask us what our holiday traditions were about?
Yeah, I emailed Allison. I said, do you have any kind of like personal, stories about Christmas or a relationship with Christmas, anything that you can think of, just babble at me in the email back, because Allison's story about losing her virginity, or maybe not losing her virginity, but her story about having sex with her gay friend
in the closet or something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We used that.
That was my favorite part of the Christmas
in the show
episode.
first season. Oh. So I was like, let's get more of that, more Christmas energy. I don't want to just fabricate Christmas memories for a character that doesn't exist. It'll feel like fabrication. It won't have depth. And so the actors, if an actor's allergic to cheese, then that's a great, make your character allergic to cheese. It helps a lot.
I like this part. It got really big. We had a 70-piece orchestra playing in Bratislava.
Wow.
And it got really big there at the moment at the top of the train.
That Bjork joke I added in, I felt like we were light on the comedy. I mean, I think people would agree we're light on the comedy
Bjork
this episode,
joke?
but yeah, there was on the dashboard.
speed.
The speeds of the train go from aloof to Bjork.
I saw that.
Was there a joke there before? Or
No, it was just. It was. I think it was like a million miles an hour. Or
Oh,
something
okay.
like that.
I love that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Chris McKenna came up, I think, when he pitched the idea of Chevy coming in, zipping up his fly, and saying, "Where are we? Christmas train?" Those exact words. That was McKenna.
Christmas.
This was like one of the first shots I saw in the show.
This is one of the first things I could see very clearly in my head. I know I wanted Abed violently kicking in the door to a CSI crime scene that was Santa's workshop, and having everything be silent, no music, and be looking for the meaning of Christmas. Damon Lindelof responded to this very petty, crappy, parasitic mudsling by sending the writer's room a very expensive lost complete series Blu-ray box set, and with a really sweet note saying he's a big fan of the show, and he and I have been Twitter buddies ever since. Like, it blows my mind how much higher everyone's roads are than mine.
I'm friends with a lot of my bullies from like high school.
Because you learned over time they were right.
Oh yeah, I love Pain.
Ludwig, you want to talk about the song that's coming up?
The
It's
song
a
that's coming up.
I'll say one thing first. I think it was like one or both of the Russos. I think it was Joe. Helped me realize what we're lacking after the table read was like we need the group of these people to really sing a song together. I remember some conversation that made me realize we need to get them all in and have them all have vocals on some.
This is my favorite song. I think this is a classic Christmas song.
I love it.
It's never been said before.
But it was hard to record, right, Ludwig?
It was hard to record, and it's one of my favorite songs too. It's just so funny and jolly, you know.
But touching too.
Get you so
and as a writer on the show, I have to say I didn't do any of this writing, but the song is perfect and beautiful.
But we had everyone coming into my studio, and
We tried doing this together at once, didn't we?
we tried doing this together.
Yeah, it
didn't work.
didn't really work out.
So we recorded one by one.
I really wanted to write a song that, in a certain sense, at least for the first half of the song, there's a feasibility that these are characters that live down the street making up a Christmas song as they go. So that's why Britta, her first line is...
Yeah.
We had to change the performances all the time.
Yeah, because I wanted it to sound like she's making it up.
Yeah.
That's what Christmas is for.
You also
So
don't
then Allison kind of ups the ante. She's like, but nobody's rhyming yet, you know, and then of course Shirley, not Yvette, Shirley goes with it, but then Jeff is like,
That's so cute.
he's not that great at it. He tries to bring it home, but then and now at this point everyone comes together, and now your disbelief is suspended enough that you can believe that people are just sort of keeping meter and making up rhymes. Hanging out with the people you love, saying I
such an American Christmas song.
How would you make it Swedish, Ludwig?
This is why I moved to America.
Oh my God!
write this kind of music.
I really want you to write a Christmas special, Ludwig.
I do too.
That's going to be great.
Oh, I love the Christmas pterodactyl.
That's cool.
I'm leaving.
Initiate self-destruct.
Don't you think that's a little...
And speaking of American Christmas mythology, what Abed's about to say is what's always stricken me about Christmas
Meaning of Christmas
in
is
America.
the idea that Christmas has meaning, and it can mean whatever we want.
Christmas is the ultimate meta holiday. It started as a solstice celebration in pagan times. It was co-opted by, forgive me, it was co-opted in later years by a huge organized religion, but that didn't ruin it. It doesn't. It's whatever you want it to be. It's because it's unavoidably celebrated. It's the time of year when things are dying and need to be reborn, and so the fact that we celebrate it is what we're celebrating, because we're celebrating it because we like each other. The lyrics to this song are awesome.
Yeah.
But you can't hear them. But it's these kids that Ludwig pulled together who are there's like, we can sing,
Turkey
we can
wing.
sing anything, and it's sad or something like that.
There's something with turkey wing in
It's
there
the
too.
kids. It's the kids. Kind of. They're almost like gangster rapping because they're like they're gangster rappers because they're boasting about how they can sing anything and it'll be sad.
Here's the only thing I wrote in this episode, really. And apparently every writer had this idea.
This is amazing how for one frame of this, it looks so much like they're gonna make out.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Look at that perfect bite. It's a little odd that I see this too.
I'm always obsessed with cartoon eating.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, Duke. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Duke.
Thanks.
Hi guys, thank you.
Thanks, animators.